It's exactly 9 after the hour 6 on the Mighty Metro FM. This is Sports That Amplified with Andile. I am Andile Ncube, and I've got to give a big shout out to the conversations, the music, the energy on the touchdown. Every single day was no different today. Hosting the beloved Becky. Hey, Becky. Becky, we miss you, man. Becky, you must come through. You and your athletes. You must come through. We need to have great conversations. It was great to hear your voice on the radio. Over the next hour, the conversation you've just heard has been ongoing. There was a chairman of the DStv Premiership, Dr. Irvin Khoza, speaking about licensing and how coaches should better themselves and how they shouldn't wait for sponsored trips and sponsored badges and qualification times. They should go and better themselves. This is a conversation that is ripe right now because, of course, you've got a Morgan Mamila, you've got a Vusi Vilakazi as well as Maputi Kenyeza, who might feel hard done by what Coach Rulana Mokoena has had to say. But it's not just him. It's not just Coach Mokoena. We heard it from Walter Steenbok, who is the technical director of South African football from SAFA point of view. We heard it from Ramovich as well, the coach out at TS Galaxy. Coaches are more and more feeling like in order to better our leagues, we need to be able to. But what are these coaching badges? What do they mean? Somebody's got a CAF B, somebody's got a UEFA Pro, somebody's got a UEFA A. What does this all mean? Do you even understand what those coaching badges mean? If somebody's got a C versus somebody's got a D versus somebody's got a Pro, UEFA versus CAF, what does it all mean? And do you know what your coach has got? I've got it right here in front of me. All 16 coaches in the DStv Premiership and what they have. We've got it here. All 16 coaches and what badges do they have and what does that mean? That's what we're going to be talking about today. So that you don't sit there and say, qualifications when you don't know what it means. President of the South African Football Coaches Association is going to be talking to us about exactly that. Greg Mashila will come on. We're going to cross to Renelo Letsulinyane, who's in Botswana right now. Because Yeye Letsulinyane is in Botswana doing what? Exactly. So we'll go to him and we'll talk to him about that as well. In studio with me, I've got Dr. Mnandi, former Kaizer Chiefs and SABC Sports analyst, Spiram Kwanza. He's with us in studio to discuss this topic. There is a game currently live right now. 51 minutes have been played and Sundowns through Mendieta lead. And this is Sports That Amplified with Andile. It's a Wednesday, so it is Football Wednesday here on Metro FM. Sports That Amplified with Andile. Now, the conversation about licenses, and I must be very honest that it gets a little confusing. It's not straightforward. Spiram Kwanza is here with us as well, of course. He is an SABC analyst and also part of the podcast Friday Boys here on the Mighty Metro. Mkwanza.
Sanibonani emakhaya. Hayi sesibuyile namhlanje iphethe ezimnandi ke sizo-ayina.
I want to first go to the outcry.
Yeah.
Let me start with Rulana Mokoena when he spoke about coaching badges because he's the most recent coach to do so. Have a listen to what Rulana had to say.
Tell me of a player at this football club who has not improved. Mention one. Who has not improved? And that is, results aside, biggest sign of coaching. Improve the players.
That's Rulana Mokoena speaking about coaching improves the players. He then goes on to say the biggest sign of coaching. After having said that, he speaks about the coaching badges now and why it's important.
When you are not a coach, you don't get your licenses. You undermine the job of coaches. A lot of people think coaching is very, very easy. It's not a talk show. It's not. Coaching is not a talk show. Coaching is rolling up your sleeves and handling, especially at Sundowns, handling precious jewels. You're dealing with people's careers, and this is their ability to feed their families and look after the lives of the people that depend on them. And a lot of people think that is very easy. It's very, very difficult.
He's not the only one. The technical director of football at the South African Football Association, Walter Steenbok, also had this to say. I think this was a little bit earlier this year when he had these thoughts after being asked in a press conference.
If you're not going to implement, you're going to get questions from Benjamin like this, that who's in charge? So we are in charge. It becomes a difficult question. Mark says we don't have players in the PSL. In the top 5 European leagues. But who's coaching these players? So it means in the PSL, the players are on their own. If you have Musa Nyatama there as a coach who has just qualified with a C license, or you have Morgan Mamila, and I'm sure to mention names, who's the technical director, so it means the players are on their own. So we are irresponsible. The players are on their own. You go to Golden Argos, the two coaches there don't have anything there. So why do you want players to go to Europe? So as much as you want to put the blame on the association, but when are you going to make the right noise and say, but the PSL, wake up, you are killing us? So some of these things that we want to, even for international coaches, I'm saying, if you're an international coach and you don't have 10 to 15 years where you have never won anything, and you don't have 5 years experience, and you have never won a cup in South Africa for 5 years, why are you here?
We're going to have him on the show probably next week sometime. When he makes time for us. And then Vusimuzi Vilakazi, of course, we had him on the show here and we spoke to him about those sentiments. This is what he had to say as one of the coaches mentioned as, not having enough.
We were a little bit disturbed by the statement from UTD, the new appointed technical director, when he mentioned us, but he didn't even have a clue as to what is it that we have. Yes, we don't have the A license as in yet, but he was not supposed to say we don't have anything. That was not a true. We are aware that we still need to make sure that we go for other. Umabuti is a qualified coach. I'm the qualified coach.
What does that mean? What does it mean, qualified?
Qualified. I think the standard requirement in our football in South Africa is D license. So I do have D license and C license as well. And Umabuti has D and C as well. So
and I might be corrected here when I was Muzi, and I might be speaking out of turn here, but I think the conversation was around about how D and C aren't good enough for the level that you are coaching.
No, he did mention that later, but he said in the first place, he said we don't have anything. So I was against anything. I was not against the level that he is expecting from us.
18 after the hour 6. And what does that even mean? When somebody says C and D, what does that even mean? Morgan Mamila also mentioned there, he spoke about licenses, particularly on the pro license.
There are guys with pro license here. They've been here for how many months? Go and check their wins. They're not even close to me. Go and check. All pro license guys that are behind me. So be honest to yourself, not to me, to yourself. The state does not lie. I think, is there any pro license from number 1 to number 9? I don't think there's any.
And of course, by that, he meant C. Adramovich, because that's the pro license that we have. I'll give you the list. It's in front of me. I'll let you know exactly what coach has what badges. And then we'll break it down. Mkonza? Badges.
Yeah. Badge Andile are important. They reinforce leadership functions and it gives them a coach in-depth knowledge. Because I can tell you right now, with my football background, I used to think mentality was incorrect. I have no background, so I don't have to do coaching course. But I've realized, good man, if I want to go into that space of coaching, you need to do badges. And there's C, there's D. It in a C, it works with grassroots. So that's a youth.
Okay, I said pants.
Yeah.
I said pants. What is the hierarchy on licenses?
Yeah.
What's the difference between a CAF license and a UEFA license? Those are the two licenses.
Yeah.
The CAF and the UEFA.
Yeah.
What are the differences between the two?
My licenses are completely different. Okay, because let's be practical. I'm gonna do the German one. So in German, what they do, Andile, for you to coach in a regional league, you need to have a C and a D.
UEFA C and D.
Yeah. German C and German D.
Yeah.
To coach in Bundesliga 1 and 2, you need to have football letter. That's their pro license. You can't coach anywhere. Why are they doing that? There's an elite license that you need to do that enables you to coach in the youth and develop players and be able to coach in a senior team. And I understand but important part about the license is it gives you knowledge now, coach, because your background of football doesn't work anymore. Yes, it works because you relate to the game, but the ultimate thing, the knowledge of the game, trends with game, you need to also improve now as a coach. Yes, I hear Morgan uti aguna on top muntu but 4 wins doesn't make you a coach that is astute. That it doesn't make you, because you win the league with 30 games. You don't win the league in four matches. And also, and the last week I made an example. If you go back to last week, I said, if you go to England, EFA England takes Abu Lampard, all these former players just to retire, give them these licenses. Why they fast tracking them into the system? Because you asked to England about struggle, but now they don't have the experience that is key, the 5-year experience that they need in order to be able to. You've seen how they struggle in the teams that they've coached because of the experience that is needed. So coaching I hambi and I've said it's not only isolated pages, Andile. It has to come with passion, merit based. And German has produced top coaches about Tuchel, about Klopp, about Wagner. It's because they've put in a lot of work when it comes to the background. Upito Msiman, let's look at Upito. Pro license, CAF pro license. What does that mean?
That. We've got all the coaches here and what they have. All of that coming up. It's exactly 24 after the hour 6. It's an educational day. I'm going to be learning something. I hope you are too. We're speaking about coaches and their licensing. We hear about it all the time. It's become quite a conversation in South African football at the moment, and we'd love to know what is what. Let me tell you first. The most qualified, David Notwane is joining us on the conversation, by the way. David Notwane, a youth coach out at Sundowns, but also former under-23 coach as well. He's on the line. David, welcome to the show, and thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, Andile. Good evening, and good evening to the listeners of the show.
Before we go on, David, I want to just go through the list of PSL coaches and South African coaches, and you can correct me at any point here. Pitso Mosimane is the most qualified South African coach. He sits
100%.
with the CAF Pro license. So that's the biggest, that's the best you can get as far as CAF is concerned, the Pro license.
Yes, certainly.
Okay.
And there's only 5 on the continent, by the way, so far.
And then let's go on to everybody else. And then you've got, Tim Sugazi has let us know this a couple of times, Sia Dramovic, who's got a Pro license.
Of UEFA.
The UEFA Pro license. So now, what's the difference between the UEFA Pro license and the CAF Pro license?
Yeah, basically, Andile, to cut to the chase, each confederation, as you see, CAF, UEFA, CONCACAF, and so forth, they've got their own standards in terms of curriculum they would use to direct their coach education. So, for example, the difference between UEFA and CAF would be a license under CAF that is for the continent of Africa and its specifications. South Africa would have its own curriculum based on their own culture in terms of football, the demands on the ground in terms of their youth programs and so forth. And so will UEFA. Even in UEFA, you have different countries, like I was doing now the Scottish FA. So the Scottish FA course content would be different to the English. The English would be different to the Northern Ireland based on each country's culture.
But once you've qualified, if I've got a UEFA Pro license, I can work anywhere. If I've got a CAF Pro license, I can work anywhere, even in leagues. Pitso can go work in England.
Yeah, now what's happening, that's also depending on the collaboration between the different continents. For example, at the moment, UEFA was dominant in terms of its global allowance to coach with a UEFA license. But now if we have CAF, you'll find that in terms of the hours, you could be relevant, but in terms of the content, the standards that UEFA has set could be different to CAF, and therefore they wouldn't allow you to work into UEFA with a CAF license. So those are some of the dynamics and the challenges that are at play. And at the moment, for example, you'd see that within our country, CAF, South Africa, for example, you come with a UEFA C, you come with a UEFA what, it's sort of glorified without even checking the content.
If we take a look at an Eric Tinkler, who's got a new UEFA A, right?
100%.
He can't sit on the bench when it gets to CAF games because they need a CAF A license to sit on the bench.
Yeah, and the reason behind that is exactly what I was saying, that now CAF and UEFA haven't entered into an agreement that allows collaboration between the two continents in terms of licensing standards. So, for example, the argument here would be UEFA would say, no, but your CAF content is not of the same standard as our UEFA. Okay. Therefore, and CAF is saying, no, but our standards, we believe, are equal to yours. So, therefore, we're not going to allow your coaches if you don't allow ours to coach into your space of UEFA. Hence, FIFA now is coming with a globalization in terms of coaching standards and the badges required in terms of collaboration between the different confederations.
All right, let me go through them. Let me go through the ones that I've got here. You've got Rulane, who's got a CAF A license. Mm-hmm. He's one short of a Pro license. Eric Tinkler has got a UEFA A license. Tlhono Siema, who's got an A license, CAF. Maputi and Vusi, that's out at Golden Arrows. They've got a D and a C license. Morgan Mamila has got a C license, CAF. Mm-hmm. You've got a Gavin Hunt who's got a UEFA A license. Mule Finteki who's got a CAF A license, Pro license, level 3 SAFA. Mm-hmm. Helman Kelele, okay, he doesn't coach in the PFL. Then you've got Sia Dramovic who's got a Pro license. You've got Steve Compello who's got a CAF A license. Sean Bartlett who doesn't have. So that's the bulk of the coaches. I'm not sure which one I've missed here. But Morgan Mamila's got a C here. So what is the C and D, which predominantly our coaches have, Mkonza? What is the C and D? If I've got a C and D, where do I qualify to be coaching?
Yeah, look, I think Mkonza put it rightly. With a C and a D, you are more at youth level. Those are entry levels. D is like your introduction. It's where you're trying to find yourself, whether you want coaching as a career. Are you feeling you want to grow in this space? It's like your grade RR, if I may put it like that. So it's entry level, really. And then your C license is where now you start to go into the real aspects of coaching. The science is getting introduced. And with that, you can work at your SAB, for example. Some teams will allow you to even work at ABC Motsepe, but usually the standard of C is at SAB and youth and amateur. And then with a B, now you're entering the senior competition level, which is ABC Motsepe, Motsepe Foundation Championship, assistant coach at PSL level, and then of course with a CAF A then you qualify to be a head coach. So these things are really there in terms of moratorium at SAFA. But the problem is the collaboration between SAFA and PSL in enforcing these sub-licensing processes, which is not yet concluded as such.
If what you're saying is true, then so many coaches in the DSTV Premiership should not be handling players at the level of the DSTV Premiership.
Very true.
100%.
Very true, 100%, because that person is not fully qualified to be able to develop a player. And for me, one characteristic of a coach is to develop a player, and the players needs to improve. And also now coaching is going to a space where coaches needs to be able to take care of the fundamental of the performances, technically, tactically, psychologically, and socially. And there's a higher increase in demands for modern game to have coaches that are fully qualified. That is why if you look at increase, Yama top clubs in the world, Andile, you look at the men behind the success and the results and how the team plays is a top coach.
So then, Coach David, would I be correct then in assuming that a coach that's only got a CAF C and D, whenever they take a training session, whenever they are giving instructions, it's all based on their history of what they remember as footballers, mostly?
No. Well, not necessarily. Yes and no. Yes, in terms of the content of their knowledge. Then remember now, we're living in a technological age now. So there's something called continuous coach development as well, whereby you can move with the trends, you go on internships, you go on workshops, and you acquire knowledge. So a lot of the guys then now you can Google anything. Let's be honest, we know that. You can Google sessions from Chelsea, you can Google sessions from Brazil, and then you try and come and implement it. But the problem is without understanding the content of the knowledge because of the bench that we have perhaps, then it becomes a problem.
But Coach, I got YouTube.
Bapaya.
But Coach, I got YouTube.
Yeah, I'm a drill mouth ya check. I drill ya go YouTube, and I can say for every drill that you do,
But
yes, go topic acquisition. Some they go to the topic, go YouTube and look at how do we do pressing as example, and then you can see with YouTube. And I'm applying manja hlakan pile because they Google now. Bayabona awandile ngathi udlala ngathi la leyo ibambe ku YouTube.
No.
I promise you. Bafethu.
Andile, maybe to chip in with something very important to mention as well. While we're looking at the elite PSL standards, the biggest problem we also have is at grassroots level and youth level, where a lot of coaches even don't have the D licenses. Hence, you see SAFA pushing in terms of the coach education. Because I always tell coaches, and I'm a coach educator, by the way, at SAFA, and I always said to the coaches without a license, actually, that you are not a coach, you are a colleague. Because why would you allow, in our education system, why wouldn't we allow a teacher without a teaching minimum standard to be able to go teach in the schools? And even us as parents, by the way, if I go to a school and my kid is there and there's a teacher who's not qualified or has got a bogus qualification, I'll jump in and go pull my kid out and question the principals as to why are you employing someone who doesn't have the standard for teaching?
Because that should be at least a basic D at high school level, at school level. Somebody who's coaching there should have a basic D or C, maybe even.
C, I would say.
Whew. And then you've got people with C who are coaching in the DSTV Premiership. We've got Greg Mashilo, who now joins us for the conversation, president of the South African Football Coaches Association. Greg, thank you so much for joining the conversation and welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, the listeners and everybody around.
Greg, there seems to be an ongoing conversation at the moment about the state of coaching in South Africa, with the one big question being asked is, how are we going to improve our players if our coaches are not equipped to improve them? As a South African Football Coaches Association, where are you guys standing on coaching badges being professionalized in the professional game?
Yeah, Andile, we in South Africa, we are degrading this profession of coaching. We tend to think everybody can be a coach. Hence, we find our standard of football is so very low. People are just doing things by chance. We are now encouraging our coaches to be critical thinkers. We try to tell our coaches that stop imitating anybody. They start by calling themselves Pep Violet, they call themselves Joe Mourinho, whereas they are Gregor Mashilo in South Africa. If you are Greg Mashilo, you are Greg Mashilo. But if you want to be a coach, you must have been knowledgeable. And for you to be knowledgeable, please, we have sufficient content in South Africa. We can go and do our T license, C license, A license, and B license. But some are still scarce as of now, yes. But they are coming, they were there. Anytime you might get approval of any licenses that can make our people to start now being professionalized and to be...
But then, Greg, my question is, what conversations are we having with the establishment so that, we don't put the players in the place that we put the players in? They're unable to grow under coaches that don't know any better. What conversations are we having about professionalizing the game as far as the coaching department is concerned to say, hey, the basic minimum from a SAFCA point of view, the conversations we're having with SAFCA, the conversations we're having with PSL, is that this should be the minimum?
Yeah, Andile, most unfortunately, I started this question very far. I'm not a person just to enter quickly, because it shows to get it developed, you have to take time, 10 to 12 years. But nevertheless, sorry for that. But yes, in order for us to professionalize, our coaches need to attend coaching courses. There are coaching courses available. If they are not in South Africa, our neighboring countries they have. It means as it is, you must be certificated in order for you to train the coaches. No matter who good you are, the name and the coaching profession is different when you come to professionalize.
Okay, that line is not so great, so we're going to put Greg down and hopefully get back to him. David, what do you think of that one there? Because, we're sitting there with coaches that don't have the equipment, and by equipment I mean the know-how to train professional players, Mkonza. So shouldn't they be a minimum from an establishment point of view? It doesn't matter where you come from, whether you're local or not, you can't enter the PSL unganayo a minimum, or whatever that minimum would be.
It has to be enforced by like establishment, and like you said, it's important because apart just from it is to corner, because from the quality of coaching, if you look at the quality of coaching, okay, njengathi thina we coach Matiza, we are covered now. We didn't go to academies, and you could see now when we get to this level, can we go to the next level? No, because from the E Foundation and the makeup here, it was not solid. I'm not undermining what our teachers have done before, but as we go to academy, most of us,
PSL, teachers,
share accounting, but the kumbulu dynamic coaching, I understand that time. Line up, so being coached by a teacher, I could see when Maseng for PSL, I needed to elevate myself. I needed now to improve, to invest
in professional football. You played for a lot of teams under a lot of coaches. Did you ever feel the difference between a coach who's not licensed and a coach who is?
Yeah.
Did you see it? Did you feel it?
Yeah.
What about if the coach is just talented?
It's
natural
talent. It's not enough. And I can tell you, after I've been coached by Upito, he gave me the last call-up national team, I saw game differently. And all these are not undermining all the coaches who've done a work with me. But Upito, I've sat down with him, he broke the game down individual with me. From that time, I understood what his centre back is. Retired at that time. So it tells the story. Over the years, I've had coaches who've contributed to me. But when I go to Pizzo, who's highly qualified, that's when I started realizing, I didn't know all these years. And imagine if I
wow. David, are we letting our players down?
No, certainly we are. Hence, this conversation about South Africa having very talented players, very technical players, will be forever going. We'll go to our grave. The new generation will be saying the same tune. unless we fix all these issues. Like Mkonza is saying, remember also, Andile, we might have the same badge, CAF A or CAF Pro, but also now your talent and your personality as a coach in terms of how you're going to now transfer this knowledge is what would make the difference between us. You know, and of course, based also on the qualities of the players, the talents of the players. So our job really, coaching is a teaching job, it's an educating job. It's about improving the skills of these players that they have naturally got given, but then, you know, take it to the next level, professionalize it, to turn it into skills that can also inform their careers at a professional level, because there is business. It's about the clubs making money. It's about the supporters being entertained, but it doesn't take away from the fact that the skills of the players have to be enhanced and improved all the time to produce performances that are exciting to the supporters, that produce winning results for the clubs so that they make money, that make the supporters come watch the game at the end of the day. That's our responsibility.
But maybe it's a money thing. Greg, is it a money thing? How much does it cost? How much is it costing for an Andile who decides, you know what, I want to do this coaching thing, I want to do these badges? Is it perhaps a financial thing?
Yes. To start with, Andile, the D license you have to pay 1,002, and for the C license you have to pay 4,000. Depends on the area. Some areas 4,200. Then if you go to the B, you start now becoming upper to be the 8,000, and so it depends on the area where you are, whether some of the issues are now subsidized or not. But coaches are taken care of. If you don't have, there is some subsidy that is given. It depends
so
on the
at
area where you
B, you're paying about 8,000 rands, right?
No, D is 1,200.
No, I'm talking about B. B for Bob.
Oh, B. Okay, yes.
Then you're paying 8,000 rands.
Yes.
And then when you get to a CAF A license, how much is a coach looking to pay for something like that?
Well, it depends. That's what I'm saying. It depends on the area. It can be plus minus 20,000 to 10,000. I mean, from 10,000 to 20,000. It depends. I might be wrong because some areas get funded.
Yeah, I know in Botswana at the moment, the guys are paying about 20,000 pula. I know Yes there, Fabian's there, Surprise Muriri is there as well. They paying, Ronnie Kanalelo's there. They paying about 20,000 pula at the moment, which is about 28,000 rands.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, that's how much they're paying. Which, like any university, and how long does this take? If I'm a coach, you know, I want to get my A, my B, my C, my, you know, how much time is all of this taking?
Yeah, the D license takes 60 hours. That is 8 days.
60 hours?
Yes.
To get a license D, I need 60 hours divided, of course, into however many days the course is.
Yes, you go for the 8 days.
So there are people coaching in the DSTV Premiership who've had a learnership for 60 hours.
No, for PSL, and for the A, for the B, and the A.
No, but I mean we've got coaches that are in the PSL that have got a D and a C license.
Oh no, it's a joke for us, Andile.
And those guys have only studied for 60 hours. They did a crash course.
There's nothing more to do. It's just the basic of how to plan a training session, and also the basic of festival, how to improve the players, to identify and discover players.
So you're sitting there in the stands wearing a shirt, waving a flag, and a coach that's sitting on the bench has only studied for 60 hours.
Yes. And which is wrong. It is wrong, Andile.
No, man, guys. You guys are... Okay, fine. Let's leave those ones. So that's C and D, right?
Andile.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, if I may chip in on the financials to
Please,
support
David.
Coach Greg. It is indeed about the money. Of course it is. But remember also, not everyone goes to the university, isn't it? Some can't go to the university because of financial exclusions, because of lack of funds, lack of sponsors, and all these things. But one has to say it as well, and I want to support the chairman of the PSL, Dr. Kozaye. For example, I personally had to invest about 25,000 to apply for a course way back in 2004, the Dutch International course, which I attended for 1 month. The club promised to support me at the time, Santos, and they didn't. But I had to make a decision and acquire the necessary money to ensure that I empower myself. So therefore, part of the reason why it's so expensive, Andile, it shows you that it's not for everyone, isn't it? So therefore, it's for the guys that are serious about their careers. Otherwise, if you make it cheaper, as it is with the D license, everyone goes to the D license, they get the D license, Andile. And there's people that are running academies with a D license. Academies.
Very true.
No, but this is criminal. This is criminal to think that there are people sitting on benches right now where talent has been invested in, where so many young people's hopes and dreams of, dominating football across the world, from people that studied for 60 hours.
Yeah.
No, man. No. Guys, I'm not laughing. It's ridiculous. I feel undermined. I feel undermined. But I get it. There's talent based. What do you think of that, Greg? When people say there's talent based jobs, and coaching, in some instance, is a talent based job.
Definitely, because this will start first by saying football now is player-centered. It's no longer coach-centered. It means you have to enhance the attributes of a player. And if you cannot get or design your own exercises to enhance the player's talent, then you're out of the picture. Because if you're going to be a coach, you're going to Google, you're going to go to whatever and get information there. Now, it is aware now we find different type of coaches. Because if it's a talent coaching, then that particular person will know what to do, and he has to be trained in order to identify and see the unseen in the player, where he could be able now to say, now, this is the talent of the player, this is the type of training I have to design for that particular player, then you'll be able to enhance the player's talent to go forward.
So the biggest we can get and the most we can get here is a pro license.
Yeah.
We saw Pito with a pro license. We're seeing now, because one might say, look at Pito. He had a pro license. He did well on the entire continent in Sundowns. But also, if you look at a pro license of Sead Ramovic, maybe one might say, maybe not quite the same result. What does a pro license entail, Mkonzo?
I think for me, from my understanding and making my research about it, I broke it into 5 tiers on Andile. I thought it works with psychology in a modern football, physiology, sports science, media, and also what is key is the interrelationship within the club, because these are the things that now, if you, for instance, Sundowns, if you pick Sundowns, you've got big characters in the dressing room. You can't just worrying about tactics only. You need to deal with the characters within the club. So it also helps in that aspect, because the media element, because how to deal with the media, you've got conferences. So it helps in that aspect. That's why
Peter skipped that class.
Sometimes we are in a state of game and my emotions ayavela. It's not as if he skipped that. He understands and all these dynamics. So these are the things that my coach, especially my petty pro, because dealing with like you're giving people careers, and you need to be able to deal with different type of characters in the dressing room that still wants to be convinced by you. Can we perform? Are you loyal to us? Can you make us get results? And you are able to understand.
Greg, are they conversations?
Leadership, leadership.
So leadership, I'll let you now, just Greg. So leadership class is part of the course. It's one of the modules in the course, David, to say this is an important element of this pro license as well.
Very important. Even CAF A and CAF B would have elements of that. So leadership, you remember, there's different styles of leadership if you go to the corporate environment. Now, within the football as well, there's different leadership styles. So you'll have coaches that are withdrawn, you'll have coaches that are always, enforcing themselves into the game, whether through shouting. You have those that have my way, your highway or my way, and you can also reference way back into our football. Those coaches that were critical about to say, no, it doesn't give the players freedom. Those are the styles that you get learned and you get taught in terms of how to relate to the players. Because at the end of the day, like Coach Greg said, the biggest job of the coaching is to sell your ideas to the players, so that the players transfer those ideas onto the pitch. But they also have their own individual creative elements that they want to also bring into the game, which is what sometimes the supporters are coming for. So it's really complicated. And if you don't have knowledge onto these things, modules on leadership, on physiology, on the science of football, how do you then work with your fitness trainer who's more experienced than you, and he's telling you that, coach, you can't train for 2 hours, and you're insisting that, no, but I'm not happy. I want to see this thing through. So all those dynamics make it easier for us when you have the highest qualification to work with people who bring in different expertise in media aspects of interviews, how to handle them. You get trained on those aspects in these courses.
Coach Greg?
Yeah, and I was just coming in where Mkonzo was quoting the issue of the pro license. We are fortunate in South Africa, there was a pro license which is level 3 at that time. It was a question of 63 days sitting behind the desk, not even going home. Now, that is more, which is more critical. And it is part of the issue that we are promoting to say now, we in South Africa, we can also go for that course. We can also go for the pro license of CAF and even the pro license of South Africa. It's plus minus on the same level because they do the same topics, but in a very critical,
Greg, you're the president of the South African Football Coaches Association. Are we going to see you and your association pushing together with SAFA, together with PSL to say we need bare minimums, we need coaches that have these, at least a CAF A license? I mean, why are you coaching a team that you want to win the DStv Premiership if they can't even go sit on the bench when they play continental football? Are we going to see you? Are we going to see your establishment? Are we going to see the association say no? No is no. We can't let coaches that aren't qualified coach our boys.
We're definitely going to support the SAFA and going to sit down with PSL. And if we have that understanding of sitting at the same table to address this issue, we'll go nowhere. We need to be of the same mind, having our coaches equally qualified.
All right, we're going to put Greg Mashila down. Thank you so much, President of the South African Football Association, Coaches Association, rather, and of course for David Notwane for coming on as well. Really appreciated. Mkonza's still with us, and I'm going to cross now to Botswana. Rene is out in Botswana. Yeah.
Man.
Witi mango Botswana. Former Kaizer Chiefs and Bafana player Rene Tsulinyane is with the other players. You're in Botswana at the moment. What are you doing there?
Yeah, this side. I came to Botswana on Sunday to attend course CAF A license.
So you've got your B license already.
Yeah, I got my B last year. Go Zambia.
So now you're attending for your CAF A. Who's paying for that?
Myself.
So you are funding yourself to get your A license?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, tell me why. I mean, there's coaches that have C and D licenses that work in the DStv Premiership. Why do you feel the need to go get an A license?
I guess. I want to empower myself. I want to be better. I want to learn because football is taking a big shift. Modern football requires a coach to have knowledge of what he's doing, and then it is not enough for me, or the information that I have, it is not enough or good enough rather to help contribute to our football so that the
Mkonza wants to come in here. I'm going to let him come in a bit. I want to know two things from you. Number one, you've played football across many coaches, including coaches that have won a World Cup. When you think about your playing career as coaches, did coaches that had higher badges, qualification, did they impact you more? Which coach can you say, this one had a pro license and I knew and I could feel the coaching was better? Is it that case for you?
Yeah, most definitely. I was fortunate to have the coach that coached me and are qualified. That made football to be easy and enjoyable for me, and mainly because of maybe the knowledge that they have, and what they did or for football in general, whether at club level or in our country.
Yeah, your grand out jam.
I
hope you're doing well that side out here. Mamela man. Obegela abantu emadladleni ukuthi from obvious you've retired, it's post retirement, you are doing a course. If you were to explain to someone who's, do you find knowledge helpful of doing a course after retiring? It must retire uyazi hey sinalento ukuthi angeke ngiyogeleza ezongiphazamisa ngiyaliqava ngidlalile. So ayihlaziya uthi yami.
Let me ask a question. A doctor, you become a doctor because you know something, or you go to school to become a doctor.
Good question.
So if you want to take a coaching career or a football coach as a career, you definitely need to go to school, get proper qualifications, so that you become a qualified coach. That's how people are going to take footballers or football coaches serious when you are when we all go to
Qualified,
school, acquire
qualified,
that background.
Yeah, it's a great answer out here, man. I think the topic there we've discussed Nama legends, and I've tried to explain to them the importance of doing these courses because hey, a football background
but Yeye has got a job in Mazulu. Yeye was played World Cup. Yeye umnandi, but because it's a cost thing for others. It's not a secret. I know this. Well, what is the cost of doing what you're doing now?
I went to Zambia last year when I didn't have a job.
And how much did that cost you? I mean, I know it's not a secret because we can look it up, but what is the cost of something like that?
It is between 60 and 70K.
Is this including your transportation and your accommodation and all of that? And at the moment you're in Botswana, just next door. The coach, the license itself, I think is about 28,000 rands, and then with all the extras, so you're looking at about another 40,000 rands.
Yeah, so I have every month I must be this side for 1 week every month up until December. So I'm going to spend 7 days now. Monday I'm going back, go South Africa, and then next month again on the 4th until the 11th I must be this side, go back in September, November, December. That's the same story.
Over and over again. Yeah, let's all the very best, man. As soon as you're done with this one, we must come into studio. Let's have conversations about you and all that you're doing.
Thank you, Mandy.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Who is it here on Twitter? Fanny. Villa Fanny. I'm not sure what I said, Villa Fanny, but here's Fanny correcting me, saying no. Sean Bartlett has got a UEFA A license. I'm not sure what you heard me say or what I said when I was reading. There were so many coaches I was going through, so I couldn't make that mistake there. If I did, my apologies to Sean Bartlett there. It's 18:55. Let's take a break. When we come back, see some of your voice notes have come in on 060-552-7303. You can call us if you want to add yours on this conversation. 086-000-2160. The game is over. Sundowns have won it by a single goal. Mendieta scoring his first for Sundowns.
We gon' get connected. WhatsApp the Metro FM studio. 060-552-7303.
Andile. Na pose kwa to putsa ka yona the coaching badges. Does it apply to the national teams? Ne? Does it apply to national team? Ba tshwara chomo nana le tsona ntse na kwela coach bafana vele. Le bon mdifintse ke bana le tsona tse feletseng di badges ka ofela tsona ba coach bafana because it looks like ba ngwa ka ba phika fela je. So ke yona ntse ne kwa to etseba yo. I get disrespect chomo or anyone. Just wanna know. Tebo from Naledi.
I don't know. I can't answer. I don't know what Jomo scored. I don't know what Jomo scored, so I can't. Sorry, man, I can't help you there. I don't know what Jomo's got. But I mean, when you look at Bafana coaches over the years, Timmy, perhaps look up there because you can look up what Hugo Bruce has got. We'll tell you what Hugo Bruce has got now. But when you look at the Pereiras and the coaches that have been there before, the Pitos, Steve Kompela coached. Although he wasn't a Bafana coach, he was an interim coach at some point, and he's got a CAF A license. Yeah. So not every coach at Bafana has had a pro license, to my knowledge. Who hasn't had a pro license at Bafana?
Oh, I remember I worked with Carlos Quiros. He was a professor in science, but I'm not sure what he had the coaching qualification, but he was a professor of science.
So it's a good question. It's a very good question. We'll look it up and give you the details.
Guys, it's Tembaye from Dobsonville. I'm telling you, South Africa is very rich. I cannot believe that we can take somebody like Afa Zwane and put him there and give him a position and say he's a coach. I mean, he doesn't have all those qualifications that we're talking about in there. Anyway, he was the highest paid coach, if I check last season. And yet he didn't even have anything to compete with when it comes to paperwork. But he's still standing there at the front. So, yeah. You've got a most expensive toys to play with, yeah? Good luck, guys.
Yes, Andile, yeah. Umteza lona lapha Still Day, south of Johannesburg. I hear David Nutwani, I hear even the SAFA official there. But the only problem that I'm having with everything that is being spoken about is who's sponsoring and who's paying for these courses. Because a grassroots coach like myself or anybody else from the township who cannot afford even to make a D license, who does not work and everything else, how does he, is he supposed to get those licenses?
Well, I mean, you heard.
I
You need
think
to invest
from
in
the
yourself.
SAFA
You need to
point of
invest
view,
in
there
yourself.
should be somebody, or there should be a sponsor who is paying for grassroots coaches, especially in the townships, so that they can get these badges, because they are most important. Because you'll find out that a course, for instance, Ekuruleni is doing a course and it's costing 2,800 rand. You know, that's what is demoralizing every coach who's there. So can they clarify for me then?
Well, I mean, I think they did. You probably did that a little bit earlier. We spoke to Yale Tulunyana as well, who says he's doing it himself from his pocket. Mkwanza, how are you doing it? From your own pocket?
Yeah,
What are you doing at the moment?
I'm busy next month in HMN.
For E?
For UEFA B.
UEFA B.
Yeah.
Why are you doing UEFA and not CAF?
Yeah, ngifuna ukuqala wonke ngiwa-check Andile in all angles, because like David has explained it very well, because CAF, I used to undermine it, but now my mentality has changed after I spoke to TD. He said we must do CAF licenses
All
so
right.
that you also understand the modules wethu.
3 after the hour 7. Mkwanza, thank you so much. Timmy, Olepara, Pela Pela, Nansomi.